Hi, my name is Jacqueline Pina, and I will be presenting about the speech language pathology field and how technology correlates to this field. These are my audience members, and there's one more recording right behind the camera, so we can go ahead and start. Alright, so once again, we're going to be talking about the speech language pathology field and how technology is involved in it. So to start off, the speech language pathology field, what is it? It's a field where we use rehabilitation skills or rehabilitation methods in order to help people with communication disorders. Who is involved in the field? Speech pathologists are involved, other doctors, audiologists, things of that nature, people of that nature. But the people who is our main audience or our clients are people of all ages who struggle with a communication disorder. Next, the reason why we are trying to help these individuals is because we want to give them proper communication skills, and we also want to instill confidence in them whenever they're presented in a social environment and have to speak or have to present or anything like that. And how is this field involved in technology? Well, one of the biggest resources that this field uses is an AAC device, which is really important for individuals with communication disorders because it helps them be able to communicate with others, again, improving their social skills. Okay, so what is an AAC device? An AAC device is an augmentative and alternative communication method or device. Who needs these devices? Basically individuals with physical or anatomical structure deficits, which doesn't allow them to speak or communicate properly with others. And the description or the main description of this device is a high or low-tech device that assists in communication. So here you can see an example of a high-tech device and an example of a low-tech device. So here you'll notice that a high-tech device, this is similar to an iPad, or it actually is an iPad. A high-tech device can also be a tablet or any computerized device that allows an individual to see different objects or actions that they want to do, them clicking it. And different devices work differently, like they may click it and you just may see it like a pointer kind of method. But it can also be where you click on it and then the computerized device speaks for them. And then here's an example of a low-tech device, which is simply just a picture board. And depending on the age or the severity of the patient or the client, the picture board is going to be different. Just because since this is a younger child, we want to give them or offer them the opportunity to have a low-tech device because, again, they are children. They can break an iPad easily, or they can get it wet. So we want to make sure that we give the proper device to the proper age group. And also, this child may have started with just one page on his book. Depending on how good and how fast they progress using their device, we can add more pictures to the actual device and be able to help them communicate a lot better as they're growing through learning their language, learning how to speak, learning all these different things. And next we're going to talk a little bit about ASHA, which is the American Speech Language Hearing Association. And this association is the main board for all of speech pathologists. This is a board that they have to get certified through. And their website offers a lot of information on AAC devices. It informs individuals about the importance of AAC devices. Some people may be hesitant about using them, but this website offers a lot of information on how their life can improve through the use of these devices. It also informs individuals on differences between the low and high-tech devices, just similar to what we talked about right now between a computerized device and devices that may not use any kind of technology at all, but they're still assisting the individual. And then they also emphasize the simplicity of devices or the simplicity of communication. Even though this is a presentation on technology, this specific website expresses that facial expressions, gestures, and passing messages and notes can also be considered as a device that individuals use in order to communicate. Not just individuals, like for example passing notes, anyone can do that. but people who struggle with communication or speaking in general can also use this, and it's really awesome that they emphasize these things because it allows people to understand that this communication disorders aren't supposed to be something to be afraid of or something that is completely different, because these little things that are like facial expressions and gestures are things that everyone does, so it makes everyone feel compatible to one another. Next, we're going to talk about the relationship between technology and severity. So like I mentioned before, age-wise, or ages have a lot to do with what kind of technology is going to be offered to the patient. However, severity also has a lot to do with it. So let's say someone doesn't have such a severe communication disorder, but they do struggle in some ways. Maybe the only technology or kind of method that they're going to be using is gestures, body language, for example, pointing at different things that they may need. And think about it this way also, depending on the severity, we can always improve what kind of method they're using. So let's say they're very young, they don't know how to use an iPad, or they don't know exactly what the picture board means. They can start off with gestures such as pointing or body language. Let's say when they're upset, they'll pout, or let's say they want water, they'll point at the water. From there on, as they're developing their language, their vocabulary, later on we can add another device that will help them out. We also have facial expressions, which is very useful with children, because it's an easy way for them to be able to communicate with their parents. Another one is sign language, which is very, very important, because it is not a universal language, but it is a language that offers them the opportunity to communicate with others. So like I said, low severity is gonna help people use an unaided system, which is something that doesn't require any computerized methods, doesn't require any picture boards or anything. It's something that they can do themselves as individuals. The next one, we're still talking about the relationship between technology and severity, but this time we're talking about high severity. So a high severity patient can be anyone from going into a car accident, they injured themselves and can't speak properly anymore, someone that goes through a stroke and is suffering with their communication, or someone that's born with a cleft palate or a cleft lip and they're struggling with communication. Because of their high severity, they are going to receive aided systems. And these are very simple aided systems. They're things such as writing out messages on a paper while utilizing a pen, or having a picture board, which, as I explained before, a picture board is simply just a board or a book in itself where there's different pictures on there, and they can point at the objects or the actions that they want done for themselves, or actions that they want to do. Talking about this high severity, there's also aided systems that are a little bit more complicated, such as computerized devices, which can help actually give them a voice, so they can click on it. Or there's even some devices where they use lasers like within their eyes, and the eyes are able to point out at the things that they want, or the things that they want to be said, and the device will actually speak for them, which is really interesting because as technology improves, we're starting to even come up with computerized devices that speak in a human tone rather than a robot kind of tone, which is really, really awesome, because again, it's allowing these individuals to be included in normal social environments, and it's allowing them to feel more comfortable with themselves even though they're suffering or going through a communication disorder. Next, we're going to speak a little bit about AAC, importance to communication. Again, the AAC is the Augmentative and Alternative Communication Device. So the importance of the speech pathologist being involved in this process is their evaluation. So the speech pathologist is the person that chooses what device is going to be used for their client. And again, the speech pathologist has to keep in mind the client's well-being and their social life. So like I said before, if there's a very young client, then you're going to try to do something less computerized, something that's more manageable for them, and they don't have to worry about wearing and tearing it. For example, an iPad wouldn't be the best option, just because it can be broken, it can be just damaged by that client. Or let's say there's a client and they're on a wheelchair, then you're going to want to do something a little bit smaller, not something too big, just because you don't want them to have a hard time carrying it around, and then that's going to force them to not want to use their device because it's going to be more of a hassle. The next thing is the AAC device has to be chosen appropriately because the goal is to help improve the communication. It should not be a burden on the patient or the client that you're trying to help. So that's a really important thing to keep in mind, choosing the device appropriately. And then finally, the patient's involvement is really important because they're there to help. They're there because they want to be helped with their communication and their social skills, which is really, really important. Also, another thing that is super crucial to the improvement of the communication disorder is the family or anyone who's helping support the patient, because they have a say in how fast the client improves, because if they all support them and encourage them to keep trying, to keep using their device, then it's going to be a way better chance of them improving and actually overcoming their disorder. And finally, how is technology shaping the field? Well, AAC technology has provided individuals with communication disorders a second chance and improving, again, their communication skills. They're helping them in social environments, and of course, they're improving their confidence, which is really, really important because communication is a day-to-day thing. It's something that we do all the time. So it's extremely important that we as speech pathologists in the future help them overcome the communication disorder that they're suffering with. And speech pathologists can communicate better with their clients, which is a really important point to make, because with the help of their device, they're able to provide better therapy with their clients, because the client is finally able to communicate back to the speech pathologist, and that way the therapy sessions are going to go a lot better. It's going to be less frustrating for the client. They're not going to get frustrated with themselves, and they're going to be able to progress a lot faster. And then low-tech to high-tech device progress is possible, and vice versa. So with that being said, like I mentioned, younger children who are still learning to speak, are still adding words to their vocabulary, may start off with a really low-tech device, but as they start getting older, they can use a higher-tech device leading to an iPad. Even on their phones, they can start using an app to help them with their communication disorder. So that's really awesome, because even if you're just using a low-tech device, it can be moved up to a high-tech device, and vice versa. So let's say someone has struggled with a stroke and they had to use a really high-tech device. If their communication disorder improves, eventually they can go to a low-tech device, which is going to be less of a burden on them because they're not going to have to carry around an iPad. They can just start using gestures or anything like that, which is really cool because you can go from low-tech to high-tech and high-tech to low-tech. And finally, AAC technology is shaping the speech pathology field through opportunity, because overall what this technology is allowing for people to do is to overall just get better at their communication skills and be more confident in themselves. Thank you.